Ladies and gentlemen, can I please have your attention?
I am that dude, Bodkins. Patty da patty. It's ridiculous. No way. There's nobody else out there. He's your guy. Give a big round of applause for the one and only BodkinShow. I'm going to repeat that again, folks. I didn't stutter. Welcome to the Bodkins Show. Super Brady Greg. Welcome, good evening, folks. Back to the Bodkin Show as I continuously wear this stupid getup due to the Bengals losing, and still a man of my word. I mean, this is only 1 week. Still got like 3 more shows to do until I can actually take this off. But here we are, big night on this Thursday night. And we're going to talk a little bit of the championship games. We're not going to talk a lot of the, Super Bowl. We'll wait till that happens. But we're going to talk a little bit of the championship games. Tom Brady retiring. I mean, second year in a row. On February 1st, he decides to hang it up. We also will have a guest joiner. We're going to talk a little NBA. To talk with me all, you guys know who it is. It is always Johnny Cruz, where you can catch Johnny, well, pretty much every day at this time on any different show on Let's Talk Sports Network.
What's up, bro?
Johnny, what is up? I mean, you see it, brother. You see what I'm wearing. Let's jump right into these championship games. Let's start with that AFC championship game. I want to get your thoughts because I haven't really talked to you about it yet. I mean, Cincinnati goes into Kansas City, home of the Chiefs. Got to work that in every episode until the Super Bowl as well. Where's this get up? But they do that. Close game. It is a back and forth game. Chiefs win by a field goal. I mean, the officiating was, very questionable, I thought, at times. What's your thoughts there, Chiefs, Bengals on Sunday night, now that we're 3 or 4 days removed from it?
Well, I mean, it was definitely a good game. We expected a good game from both teams. That's being nice as far as the officiating. But it's been all season. We've talked about that all season, that the officiating this year has been horrible. Some questionable plays there. I mean, a lot of people are jumping on that personal foul, but he was out of bounds. Yes, Mahomes played it off, but that's what he's supposed to do. You know what I'm saying? So
that to me, that foul's a foul pretty much. You knew as soon as he hit him, they're going to throw the flag. Right. I think there was a couple blocks in the back on that punt return that didn't happen. Yeah. The whole weird third down situation that happened. Yeah. The officiating was not very good. It's very questionable. Now everybody thinks the damn games are rigged, and I don't. There's no possible way that the games. Here's what I say to the rigging of the games. There's no possible way. You're talking 100 people plus that would have to buy into this rigging, right?
Right.
And then, but do I think this, Johnny? Do I think the refs sometimes, are Donaghy situation in the NFL and can favor things a little favorably? 1,001%. I believe that happens.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. I mentioned it earlier in the week. When you're talking referees or umpires or whatever at the end of any game series or playoff matchup, that's never a good sign. You know what I'm saying? But you hate it. You hate for it to come down to that. I don't think there's no way it's rigged. These guys are, with all the injuries and the possibilities for injuries, there's no way you can keep something that massive under wraps like that. But can the referees influence games? Absolutely, they can. You know what I'm saying? It happened, like you said, Donaghy. That's one of the reasons why I'm not the biggest NBA fan, to be completely honest. I'll watch the playoffs and I love watching certain matchups because I want to see the stars play, but the refs have too much power over over the calls in that game. So, yeah, there was some questionable stuff, like I said, but the officiating has been horrible this whole season. So it just doesn't look good. You want the players to make the things happen out on the field, but I mean, it was still a really good game. Cincinnati had every opportunity to take this game from Kansas City. But Mahomes is that dude. Even on a bum ankle, made the plays he needed to make at the end to win that game. Chris Jones finally got his first couple of sacks. You know what I'm saying? We talked about it on that morning show. That I couldn't believe that stat that he never had a playoff sack. So he gets 2, and they were big ones and at big moments. So you know what I'm saying? Kansas City did what they had to do, but yeah, your boy Burrow was, he had all them. There were a lot of people squeezing them cheeks together in the Chiefs Stadium. You know what I'm saying, that day, because they were all worried about Burrow going down the field and winning that game, man.
When he hit the 3rd and 13 and he hit the tight end Hurst, I said, "Here we go, boys." I said, "Here it is," just like I called it. Burrow's about to take place and is about to do his damn thing here. And unfortunately, that didn't happen. I mean, their offensive line showed up twice now, right? Twice. You got to feel like their offensive line let them down in crucial moments. Last year in the Super Bowl, and then this year in the AFC Championship, he had no time to throw a lot of times. And in the second half, I thought the tide turned when KC had no wide receivers, and they could get after Mahomes a little bit, and he was getting sacked. That game, I thought Kansas City was going to go up 2 scores, and then Mahomes just kind of drops the ball when Cincinnati gets it. Kind of saved him.
Yeah, that definitely kept Cincinnati in the game because that was quite a momentum changer right there. Because if they were driving with right down the field, they put up a touchdown right there, and you're gonna start questioning whether or not Cincinnati's going to be able to come back, especially with all the pressure that Joe Burrow was under the entire night. But Cincinnati definitely has to do something about that O-line. I know they keep trying to say, "Oh, well, Joe Burrow don't care about sacks." Well, you know what? I guarantee you, Andrew Luck didn't care about sacks his first few seasons either, and then he wound up having to walk away. So not saying that that's going to happen to Joe Burrow, but your body can only take so much of a pounding. You know what I'm saying? So and he plays well in the pocket, and they talk about how he extends plays, and that's what he likes to do. But at the same time, he ain't trying to get lit up, before under 2 seconds. I mean, he needs some type of time because he can win from the pocket. So just like a lot of other teams, Cincinnati is going to be addressing that offensive line in this offseason. They have to, man. They got to protect that kid. He's too good to risk another major injury or something like that. So, well,
I mean, they did. They went out last offseason, got a bunch of guys, and all those guys got hurt. I mean, they were down, 3 offensive lineman starters. I mean, kudos to Kansas City. And I told you on Sunday I was nervous because they were all that chirping that Eli Apple was going to do an MVS scorch him. You let MVS scorch you, Eli Apple. Shut the hell up. Shut the hell up. Like, I mean, if you're the teammate, you just got to say shut the – and then the mayor, and then you saw what Travis Kelce said. Hey, shut up, know your role, and shut your mouth, you jabroni. As you know me, I'm a big WWE guy, so I loved that Kelce was going after him, even though I was mad that the Chiefs won. Right, you can't tell that by what I'm fucking wearing tonight, but Jesus.
But no, I was glad that Kelce did that.
Right. You knew they were going to chirp back, right? Like that's what you're supposed to do. The Chiefs weren't chirping into the game. You know what I mean? Or going at anybody during the game or before the game. Now we're gonna trash talk you at the end after we handle our business because that's what we do.
Right.
And that's what you're supposed to do.
And like we said, Eli Apple is the last one that should be talking crap.
Yes,
you saw that. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Again,
Eli, you should enjoy the ride that Joe Burrow and that offense is taking you on, and just be glad you're there. Just shut your trap. Shut your trap. Just shut up. I mean, shut up. I did see. I felt bad for the player, the linebacker. He played a hell of a game push when he pushed Mahomes out. He pushed Mahomes out. He was playing really well up to that. I mean, teammates were obviously you probably saw the clip where the teammates like, why the fuck you touched the fucking quarterback? Right. I mean, as a you got to think that's going to happen, right? You're just frustrated and mad at the time, but you're going to make up. You're going to make up, right? You're going to make up. That's what you do as teammates. That happens all the fucking time. I mean,
at the time, the heat of the battle.
You just let it go.
You just let it go, but I'm sure that I'm sure they're already past it already. You know
Yeah.
what I'm saying? Because the kid is a
Playing ride home.
baller.
He sat next to
Right.
him and said, "Hey, man, I'm sorry."
Right.
Like, yeah,
Because he's a good young player. He played very well in that game. That's just one of those plays. That
looked like he fucking tore his knee too, did it not? When he hit the sideline.
Man.
I felt real bad for
dude.
him.
I was like, oh my God, please don't tell me he blew out his knee. You know what I'm saying? Like, that would talk about insult on top of injury. That would have been horrible right there. But no, he'll learn from that. And like, I mean, it happens all the time. You know what I'm saying? So he was trying to make a play. You know what I'm saying? It was just a little bit, just a little bit out of bounds. But like I said, and Mahomes sold it well. So it is what it is. But I mean, yes, it put them in better range, but he was moving them down the field anyway. You know what I'm saying? So who's to say he wouldn't have made? Yeah, it might have been a harder kick, but he was moving the team down the field anyway. So we talked about it in the morning show. It would probably come down to who has the ball last, and that's exactly what wound up happening.
And that's what happened. Before we get it, talk about the last two little NFL things. We got some comments in here. CD, who joined the show last week, he says, "I look good tonight." I posted this shirt, and I know more. Tuvalo, I'll never join the damn Chiefs bandwagon. No, never, babe. Never.
He's just a man of his word, man.
Yeah,
that's all.
Right. Chris says MVS did ball out. He played a heck of a game. I want to get your thoughts on the NFC Championship game. I thought as soon as Brock Purdy, what we found out was a torn UCL, which is almost damn near Tommy John. He's going to have to almost have Tommy John surgery, they think. They hope he's ready by training camp. But, hey, Trey Lance got to be happy that he may not be ready because who knows what happens there in San Fran. But what was your thoughts there on the Eagles-49ers game?
That definitely changed the game. I still thought the Eagles were going to win the game. I just thought they were the better team in the trenches. And as much as 49er fans want to get all, bent out of shape over people Purdy got hurt, but that defense still gave up 31 points.
Yeah.
So, you know what I'm saying? You calm down with the whole, that's the only reason why you lost. That's not the only reason why you lost. The other reason was that Philly is really, really good. You know what I'm saying? So Philly handled their business, but you can see the way his elbow just bent back. And Tom, if he has to have, if it's totally torn and they have to do basically Tommy John surgery, don't give me that. There ain't no way he can be ready for training camp, bro. No way, bro. You know what I'm saying? And granted, he doesn't have to throw 95-mile-an-hour fastballs like MLB the pitchers do. But still, even before he gets to start throwing the ball, you know what I'm saying, just to get his arm in shape, will probably be deep into the summer. So this is probably the best thing to happen for San Francisco in the sense of now they don't have to play the whole do we play Trey or Purdy thing. They ain't got no choice. They're gonna have to play Trey, and then if the kid comes in midway through the season or something, then you see what happens. But that's at least 10, 12 months, bro, that injury. Like, it could cost him the whole next season, depending on how the surgery goes.
Yeah.
That ain't no joke, bro. That Tommy John surgery ain't no joke. And I know technology and medicine is way better now than it was, even 10 years ago. But that's a bad injury, bro, when you tear that ligament there, man.
Yeah, you're absolutely right on that. And I mean, that game, like you said, that the 49ers defense still gave up 30 points. You just kind of knew, though. I mean, once Johnson got in, and then they bring back Brock Purdy in, and he can't even throw the damn ball. Like,
right.
The game was far from. I mean, it's all over at that. I felt bad for the 49ers. I thought that was going to be a good game, but you were right though. Like, the 49ers defense, that they didn't really show up to play at all. And they
you could say that they, it got in their heads that they lost their quarterback, but that's no excuse. You still got to do your job. But they were coming after Purdy, so it looked like he was going to be under stress. Most of the game anyway. So who knows how it would have turned out? It might have been a little closer, but I think Philly was the better team anyway. So. They got the number one offensive line and like a top 3 defensive line, bro. If not the number 1 defensive line. So that's where you win ball games, regardless of who you have at quarterback and in the skill positions. And they happen to have a good quarterback who's getting better and some really, really good skill position players. So they did what they had to do, man. This Super Bowl is going to be very interesting because that KC offensive line, I hope Mahomes is as close to 100% as possible with these 2 weeks off, because that Philly defensive line ain't no joke, man. and they weren't even really blitzing. It was just the front that was just getting pressure like crazy, bro. And talk about one of the best free agent signings. Shout out Hassan Reddick, man.
Right. Hey, we're back to Philly where he played his college ball at Temple.
Yep.
And so before this leads us to our next comment here, our last NBA news, and Chris kind of alluded to it right here. Jimmy G isn't coming back according to Kyle and Lynch. Where y'all think he is going? Tampa. Obviously, yesterday I alluded to the top. Tom Brady is retired. Tampa Bay wouldn't be a bad situation, I don't think, for Jimmy. No. They're still kind of a win now team. Tom Brady retiring Johnny for the second time. I think this time officially for good. What's your thoughts as you watched him all them years as a Miami fan, just doo-doo on your team and, for over a decade?
Sure, almost 2 decades, bro.
Right,
you know what I'm saying? I wish it was just a decade. I mean, I think he means it this time. I mean, I think he meant it last time. I just think he, he got that itch and he just had to come back. I think he means it this time, especially after the season that he had. There aren't that many great situations for him to just walk into and compete for a title because he ain't playing for nothing but rings. You know what I'm saying? So, I mean, I know a lot of people are speculating with the Raiders, but the Raiders need a lot of work, you know what I'm saying, to build up the team. He ain't going to San Francisco, even though that would be, you know what I'm saying, a ready-made team for him, especially with Purdy getting hurt now. But happy for him. Go off into the sunset, you know what I'm saying, or do whatever it is that he's got that $300 million contract waiting for him to be on TV.
Fox, yeah.
Fox, so I can't get away from that motherfucker, bro. You know what I'm saying? Now I gotta listen to him comment, and analyze games and shit.
Yeah, I hope he does a good job. I think, Tom Brady will do great at whatever he chooses to do in this. I think his wife wanted him to retire this time, and he wanted to come back and then realized that it's over this year, and there probably wasn't a good way to go back to the Super Bowl. And either way, even if he went to Vegas, like the AFC's too tough, I think he kind of read the leaves and was just like, yeah, it's time for me to bow down and retire. So
the thing about his wife, though, like it almost makes you think like there was already an issue there. You know what I'm saying? Because you're gonna play football for one more year, and you had your doubts about it. You're gonna risk your marriage and your relationship to, you know what I'm saying, even though you were kind of iffy about coming back to play, and then to just retire right after that season, you lost your family. So there was something going on, and he's already got a girlfriend supposedly or some shit. So I mean, I'm sure he's gonna be all right, you know what I'm saying, as far as what he's gonna catch. But you know what I'm saying, that's your baby moms and your family. But they're looking for schools down here in Miami because they live down here, Dolphin fans. So he was never coming to the Dolphins, man. Not after the shit that they pulled last year and messed it all up. You know what I'm saying? Stephen Ross wasn't gonna do that again. You know what I'm saying? If they could have pulled it off last year, yes, Tom Brady would have been our freaking quarterback this year if they would have been able to pull that off last year. But I'm happy for him. He's got his 7 rings. He's going to go down as the greatest ever. I mean, I think there's still an argument there. I mean, as far as the winningest, you got to give it to him. But as far as like the best quarterback that I've seen play, nah, he's in the top, but he ain't the best one I ever saw play. But
that's a debate.
That's just my opinion, and it's not just because I'm a Dolphin fan.
That's a debate for another day,
yes,
Johnny.
Yes. Yeah, we can have a whole show on that shit.
Yeah, we could have a whole show on that shit. Yeah. We're gonna get some comments real quick, and then we're gonna bring in our guest. Italy Jet says, "Lafayette, what's up, guys? Go Eagles! Bye, Tanner."
What up?
Chris says, "Jimmy G to Green Bay. Get the hell out of here, Chris. I don't know what you're smoking,
bro." I don't like what I'm hearing about him possibly going to the Jets, bro.
That's possible.
I hope he doesn't do that, but you know, I know we're transitioning to basketball, but come on now. I don't need to see freaking Aaron Rodgers in a Jets uniform, man. Come on, I don't even want to think about that shit.
You're talking about Aaron Rodgers. I thought you were talking about Jimmy.
Oh no, I think that one is a possibility. New England is definitely a possibility. Could he go to the Raiders?
I think
he's got the relationship with McDaniels. So, you know what I'm saying? I think Carr goes to Tampa to answer the Chris's comment about Jimmy G going to Tampa. I think Carr might go to Tampa. I wouldn't be surprised if Jimmy G goes to Vegas, man.
We'll all see how that plays out. But right now, we are in the midst of basketball season, John. We've been paying so much attention to football, we forgot the NBA season, which does start way too early and is way too damn long, and has finally cut it down. We are now about halfway through the All-Star break. And, Johnny, I woke up realizing I don't know dick about the NBA besides I see the Kings are somehow a third in the West. Yes. Luka Doncic is putting up 20 points almost every night, and then some. They don't know who could be MVP. Is it Jokic? Is it Tatum? Is it Doncic? My Bulls absolutely freaking stink. So to help us talk it all out is the SoCal. Welcome to the show for the first time, SoCal Ball nerd, Evan.
What is going on, guys? Bodkins, good to officially meet you on air.
Thank you, my brother. Thank you.
Brother? What's going on, kid? How you doing, bud?
I'm doing good. I got wife is a little under the weather tonight, so got the 4-year-old here tugging on dad. So we're gonna get through it though.
Hey, we appreciate it. If you got cut out early, you're good. Let us know. Hey, it's two dads. We know how it is. So my wife is also under the weather, so she's battling some kidney stones right now. So
oh man, that is brutal. We've had some gallstones emergency room pain level status in the last couple years. So man, sending good vibes to her, bro. I hope she's okay.
Yeah, I know all about the gallstones. Had my gallbladder taken out, so been there. Now she's battling the kidney stones.
Those are rough, bro. Those are rough, bro. I had those as a teenager, bro. Those are rough, bro. That was crazy, bro.
When I saw the gallstones work out, I'm like, dude, no. Like, I'm sorry for anybody that has to go through that level of pain, man. Oh.
So speaking of pain, Evan, let's start. What's going on with the Lakers? They're 13th right now. I know LeBron had a chance last weekend to beat the Celtics, missed the layup and got the foul. Let's start there because that's everybody's glamour team. So we'll just do what ESPN does and talk about LeBron and the Lakers first.
Hey, we end up going there almost all the time on every NBA space or whatever we do, even when we try not to. So I am a Laker fan, but I am a, NBA realist as well. The Lakers are very inconsistent. They're now 12-16, I believe, on the road, which is not terrible, but they tend to win games against good teams and they lose games that they should win. They find themselves in the same type of game pretty much over and over again.
We lost.
We just lost. The 4-year-old said, "Yo, we done, Dad.
We're done."
He just hit the end thing.
Hit the end.
Just to hit on the Lakers, you know what I'm saying? They're 24-28. He's coming back. Okay, he's back with us. But they're a mediocre team right now.
Can you guys hear me? Sorry about that.
Yeah, you're good. You're good.
Again, I'm using the phone tonight because the laptop set up with the sickness. You know how it is. We're gonna make it work.
It's all good. I figured your 4-year-old. He called a 20. He called a quick 20.
Yeah. I needed a break. So they and like you said, when I came back on, I mean, they are a team that's a few games under 500, and they leave it up to the black and white too many times. Yes, LeBron, that was a blatant foul, and I'm a believer. First quarter, first minute, or last minute, a foul's a foul. I think you said this the other night, Johnny, when I popped in while you were talking. A foul is a foul. But as a whole, you're letting teams stick around or you're winning by multiple possessions in the end of the game, and you let it come down to those kind of plays. You got nobody to blame but yourself. We talk about that in every sport. And they just need to be more consistent. You look at tonight, they found a way to finally turn it on in the last 4 minutes. They had no business winning that game. Right. But it's the same reason to lose those same type of games.
Right.
Because that's the same culture and the same type of gameplay that they find themselves in, no matter who they're playing. And even tonight, Pat Bev misses 2 free throws at the end to keep it a 1-point game. You're hoping that a good shooter in Buddy Hield, who had a bad night, misses a jumper. But we're talking, a 45%, almost 50% shooter. So you're going to lose half those games. Make your
I think he was going to say make your free throws is what he was going to say.
Right. That's why they're called free throws, and you're NBA players, man. You got to make those. But The Lakers are going to have to make a move. You know what I'm saying?
And that was gonna be one of the questions I make. But they're also not, Johnny. They're not the only LA team that is struggling, or I'm not really LA team, but California team. I mean, the defending champion Warriors are 7th right now, and they continue to. It seems like they're only one game above 500. Like that's with that talented roster. What's going on there? Is it just like they're not deep enough, you think?
Well, they do got a lot of young players, you know what I'm saying, that are playing big roles, even though those same young players played big roles last season to help them win a championship. But, I think Draymond's been hurt a little bit this season, so that's affecting them a little bit. But they're a type of team that they can get hot and go on a quick 10-1 in the next 11 or something crazy like that. Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, they can do something like that. They can pull something off like that because they've got so much talent on that team, so much young talent on that team, that's the difference between them and the Lakers, where the Lakers have talent, but it's older talent that has a lot of injury history. I mean, you never know when Anthony Davis is going to be able to play more than 2 or 3 games in a row. You know what I'm saying? And then, I mean, LeBron as dominant and stuff as he can be, you know what I'm saying? He's been nicked up the last couple of years too. And that whole Russell Westbrook thing was just a complete disaster. That was LeBron, the GM, doing that right there, because they could have had Buddy Hield that he was just talking about and some other players in a different trade, but he made them trade for Russell Westbrook. Excuse me, and now they're stuck with it. But they'll wind up having to make a move now. But
I agree at some extent. I feel like Russ is getting all the blame, and it's really he's still putting up good numbers, right? But it's just like him and LeBron's game don't work together. And I've said that before. Like they don't mesh well. Their games are very similar. Ball dominant, drive to the basket and kick out the shooters, or I'm going to shoot a layup. Like that's what their games are. They're both below average 3-point shooters. Neither one have been great 3-point shooters their whole careers. And so their games are very similar. So like, that's why I don't think that you see that mash up very well with Russ and
and that's why I didn't understand why LeBron pushed for that. Like him being, he's a very smart basketball player. So he had to know that going in. So why are you pushing for that if you know that you guys play the same type of style? What's up, bro?
All right, we got the laptop up, so hopefully we should be out.
All right.
I don't even know where the phone went.
All right.
Okay.
Hey, third time's the charm. Evan, we were just kind of talking. I was saying the Lakers aren't the only California team that's struggling. The defending champion Warriors are struggling as well. They're only one game above 500. What's going on with the defending champs, and can they figure this out and make a run in the second half here?
The difference between those two teams is the fact that the Warriors are a championship team and they know how to play together. And, you can say that there's plenty of reasons to be alarmed, right? They lost to Minnesota again last night. They've lost plenty of games. But, Curry missed a handful of games. They're like a veteran team that we talk about in baseball or even in basketball that we've seen, like even the Lakers when they were good. They're built for the playoffs. You think Golden State cares if they host the home game or not? They don't care. Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, Jordan Poole, they've got the role players. They've got Looney. They're hoping that Wiseman can come on. He's kind of been a disappointment. But the thing for the Warriors, too, I look around the West and I'm like, okay, the Nuggets are the 1 seed. They don't really have a number 2 that you can rely on. I'm not saying they didn't deserve a second All-Star, but there's a reason they didn't get one. Right. So that's the number 1 team. I'm looking at the Lakers, who got 2 Hall of Famers and can win on any night, might not even make the playoffs. And in between that, I've got a bunch of teams that are inconsistent. And outside the Clippers, who have really 2 star players that watch out if they're healthy at the end of the year, the Warriors can beat everybody in a 7-game series. It's not a 1-game playoff. Let them get the 8th seed. They will go on a run as long as they are healthy and, barring injuries or things like that. If that's a healthy Warrior team, I don't care what the seed number is in front of them. They can turn it on. Yep. The Lakers, on the other hand.
I was going to say the Phoenix Suns are another team that's been at the top the last 2 years. I mean, last year, they won almost 70 games. and we're above and beyond everybody else in this and in the year before that in the NBA Finals, and now they're not even. It looks like they may not make the playoffs. Is it because I know Paul and Booker have been hurt, and then it just seems like Coach and DeAndre Ayton they're just like on polar opposite ends of earth.
I think that has a lot to do with it. You've got a young guy in DeAndre Ayton that sometimes he just balls out. Other times he feels like maybe he doesn't want to be there. And that has a lot to do with, they weren't going to pay him. And then he went and got that qualifying offer. And then they paid him. But it was kind of a slap in the face. Like, all right, well, we don't want to lose you, but we were going to let you go get paid elsewhere first. And at that point, you have to take the team that you're with, right? As long as they match the offer, you don't have a choice.
Right.
It's kind of like getting franchise tagged, right? I mean, you either don't play or you play. And then, even a guy like Cameron Payne, he was a great role player on the team that made a run. He's been out most of the season. Booker's been hurt. Paul's been, up and down. He's been playing really well lately, and they've been playing really well the last few games. So, with Ayton, with Paul, with Booker, another team. I mean, the West is just so wide open. But I would be a little more concerned with Phoenix because of just the dysfunctionality of the culture and just kind of what it took for them to click all together to go on that run. It's not quite like the Warriors where they've been there before multiple times and you're not worried. The Suns, do I have that kind of faith in the Suns? No, because they haven't shown it to me over the last, 7-8 years like the Warriors have. And then with the Lakers, A, I'm a fan of the Lakers, so I'm going to hope for the best. But B, when you have LeBron James and Anthony Davis in the game, you got a chance to win against everybody.
Right.
And that's my thing with the Lakers is if they can play good enough to get in, then you got to watch out because they do have two scorers. They do have a guy that can take the game over. And I feel like if the Lakers get in the playoffs, especially if they avoid the play-in game, they're going to be playing pretty good basketball to be in that position, which for them, unlike the Warriors, the Lakers need to be playing well. Darvin Ham needs to figure out the rotations. I mean, you've had Rui Hachimura, who could be a nice piece on the trade. Mm-hmm. Anthony Davis and LeBron James have played, I think, now 70 minutes. So we've got a whole second half of games to see if this is a trio. Can Rui be that third scorer? They're missing that third piece. Westbrook is great at times, but a consistent third scorer to help you and take over when one of those guys is out or has a night off. Can you still win games when they're out for load management or whatever it might be, which is the dumbest thing in the world. But it's the NBA that we live in nowadays.
Right.
Can he be that third guy? Because if you don't have a third production guy across the board to be a wing defender, to hit the three, to score, you ain't going to win anything. I don't care what two guys you got in this league.
I was just gonna say I think he's a perfect number 3 because he'll do all the dirty work. He'll rebound, he'll defend, he'll do whatever it is that they need, and he can put up some points. So I actually like Rudy a lot. I think that was a good move for LA to get Rudy from the Wizards. The Wizards ain't doing nothing anyway, so they might as well just get rid of good talent. But I mean, looking at the West, just like you said, I mean, the Grizzlies, if Ja, and Jaren Jackson can put it together, they're a dangerous team. But besides that, the Nuggets, the Clippers, like you said, if Kawhi and Paul George are healthy, then you got to worry about it. But Sacramento,
that's
Dallas,
the team I want to talk about real quick, Johnny.
Luka. Go ahead.
I want to talk about the Kings real quick because I don't think if you've been paying attention, you wouldn't realize that the Kings are the third team in the West right now. I mean, Evan, are they going to break this 20-year drought of missing the playoffs? Like, this is finally the year? And is it my guy Keegan Murray? Is he going to be Rookie of the Year? Because, that's the key, right? He was the guy that's going to do it.
Again, you talk about that third guy. And with Keegan Miller coming on, you've got 2 All-Stars. Maybe only one got voted in, but you got 2 All-Star players in Domantas Sabonis and De'Aaron Fox. De'Aaron Fox may be one of the most compelling players in the NBA. If you don't watch the NBA or watch the Kings, start watching the Kings and watch De'Aaron Fox.
One of the fastest guys in the league.
And he does it all, man. He's got it up here. He can shoot. He can score. He can take over. He can dish. And everybody saw Sabonis, if you're an NBA fan, in Indiana. But if you didn't know who he was, and now you're hearing about him because he's on a winning team, this dude has been for real.
Right.
It's like KG before he was in Boston, right? He was a menace in Minnesota. You want to see real KG? he did it in Minnesota for a decade.
Right.
You want to see Pau Gasol pre-Lakers? Go look at the
That's
Grizzlies.
what he reminds me more.
Yes.
He reminds me more of Pau Gasol more than in those kind of even Mark Gasol, maybe because of his size than KG.
And my comparison there is just kind of like not knowing as much about the players. And obviously KG and Pau are Hall of Famers, and Sabonis has a long way to go. But Sabonis keeps doing what he's doing. He's going to find himself in a possible Hall of Fame position. You just can't lie.
Absolutely.
The guy averages 18.5 points, 12.5 boards. He leads the NBA in rebounding. And Kings,
he can defend a little bit too. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
he does everything. He does everything.
And the thing about the Kings too, and this is where I feel like in the playoffs, we'll see what happens, right? Will everybody rise to that level? Because in basketball, we go back to that 7-game series. I don't care how hot the Kings are and how cold the Warriors are. If that's a 7-game series, I can't put my money on the third seed Kings.
I think the Kings to me would be like the Grizzlies last year, right? Like they kind of this young team that's building. You're like, man, they kind of came out of nowhere. Obviously, the Kings had Ja Morant, which everybody kind of knows Ja anyway. Where the Kings really, you said it, like if you're really not paying attention, like you're not really counting the Kings. They don't have like that superstar. Yeah, I know Sabonis is becoming that all-star, and De'Aaron Fox as well. And Keegan Murray's a really great player. But like they're just not like that, they don't have like that global star. Like Ja Morant is kind of like that global NBA star that's on the rise. So I think like if you see them, they'll struggle. If they get a low seed, it'll depend on who it is. And it might go 6 or 7 games because that inexperience of playoff basketball, which we saw the Grizzlies struggle when they were the 2 seed last year and then lose to the next round. I very much could see that happening this year with the Kings. I mean, it's been 20 plus years for the Kings since they made the playoffs. We're talking the Chris Webber, Doug Christie days,
right?
Since they made it. So I think as a fan, you got to be happy that they're just above 500 and can make the playoffs.
Right.
Oh, you got to love it, man. That place, if you get a chance, turn on a Kings game because that arena and they do this light the beam thing with, at the end of the game, that place is a freaking circus, man. I mean, in a good way. It is nothing but excitement and fireworks there when they win games at home, which is happening very often now, and they've got, Kevin Huerter too is a great 3-point shooter. I mean, if they had like a KD or a Tatum or a guy that just could take over, oh my goodness. I mean, and De'Aaron Fox and Sabonis can maybe get to that point, but they're still going to need that other player. And, just like you said, Bodkins, I mean, it's that inexperience, and it's the fact that it's a 7-game series in the NBA.
Right.
It's why they got rid of that 5-game first-round series, because the better team will win. And the Grizzlies find themselves kind of in the same boat this year too, because Ja can only do so much, and so you're going to get enough from Dylan Brooks and Desmond Bane and Steven Adams in a 7-game series when you're going up against the Clippers or the Warriors or the Suns. I mean, it'll be funny to see that bottom half because you could have like the Lakers, Clippers, Suns, and Warriors 5 through 8. And they might win every round.
That's kind of what I was alluding to when I was naming off the teams. You got Grizzlies at 2, Kings at 3, the Mavericks, the Timberwolves at 6. Like, I don't trust any of those teams. Like, none of them.
And they're, the thing about not trusting them is the T-Wolves won 7 out of 10 and maybe 8 out of 11 now to get into that spot, because look at the Lakers and the 4 seed. It was separated by 4 games. So you win 7 out of 10, you can go from 12 or 13 to 4.
Why is Utah I thought was supposed to be become the worst team in the league, and now Lauri Markkanen, it's like the light bulb finally kicked on for him after he gets traded from my Bulls to the Cavs and now to Utah. I mean, what are the Mormons just feeding that kid something different than what he was getting in Chicago, and he's not eating the Chicago pizza? The Mormons giving Utah, because that was supposed to be the worst team in the league, and here they are just kind of at 500, which means they could make the playoffs even.
Yeah, I mean, they've still got with him and Clarkson. I mean, they've got some playmakers, but they overachieved in the beginning of the year. The last few weeks, they're the opposite of the Kings and the T-Wolves. They're going down, and so even though Markkanen is an all-star and deservedly so, and you got Clarkson might be on the move himself. They're still not done blowing things up in Utah. It was a nice start. But if you ask me a team that's going to fall out of playoff contention, it's going to be the Jazz because they're not going to get any better, and they may even lose more players. But you have found a star in Markkanen and doing what, just like you said, what he would do. And I guess, hey, man, the food's just different in Utah. You know, the culture for Markkanen was more Utah-oriented than Chicago.
Yeah,
you know?
Right. Let's go move to the East, Eastern Conference. Is it just Boston, Milwaukee, and Brooklyn, and maybe Philadelphia in the East? And it's just kind of, hey, those 4 teams are going to play and don't give anybody a chance, or do the Cavs really got a thing?
Yeah, the Cavs don't have a chance. Again, they're doing great things, and I think that they're a little ahead of themselves. Maybe even, I don't want to say the Kings are ahead of themselves. I think the Kings are just maximizing what they have.
Right.
The Cavs are maximizing what they have, but they are a little bit ahead of themselves, and they just don't show me enough when they go on the road against the Western Conference. When they play, they just have had too many games where they don't show up. And if you're a young team in the regular season that does that, this is going to just piggyback on top of kind of the Memphis and the Sacramento. Mm-hmm. You're going to be even more inexperienced in the playoffs. And one thing about the Kings or last year's Grizzlies is they don't take nights off in the regular season. And that's why they're able to keep winning games where Clippers go load management, Lakers go load management, Warriors go. These young, exciting teams, they don't do that. Right. So they're able to win 50 games, but when it comes down to a 7-game series against the same team, they're probably not going to win out because that other experienced team is going to figure them out. So back to the Cavs, they're kind of in the same boat, but they're not showing me that in the regular season every night. They go cold. Yes, they've got Mitchell, who's a killer. Garland is great when he's out there. And I think if Garland stays healthy and LeVert can contribute, I love what they got. Jared Allen, Evan Mobley.
Yeah.
How many teams that have 2
Donovan
bigs
Mitchell?
like
that?
Yeah.
They're built like that.
Deep. They're deep.
But give me a healthy Nets, healthy Sixers, healthy
Milwaukee.
I don't see them getting past those teams, and I can see, depending on the matchup, them getting bumped in the second round before they run into one of those teams.
Yeah, the only team that I see in the second half or the bottom half of the playoffs is always the Miami Heat. The Miami Heat could easily bump off somebody in a series, you know what I'm saying, or 2 possibly. But
they could go back to the NBA Finals. Like that could be okay. Yeah, the Miami Heat. Yeah, they're in the Eastern Conference Finals. Yep, that sounds about right.
And that's the difference, I think, of the experience with the Heat is if you give me the Heat and the Cavs at the same spot with both their rosters, I'm going to look to what the Heat have done with their experience with the players plus the coaching and the organization that I give them a better chance to upset a higher seeded team now.
I'll never bet against a guy like Jimmy Butler. Jimmy Butler is my favorite player in the league, probably because the man is an absolute dog. I mean, if you look in the definition of a dog in the definition, Jimmy Butler's picture's there, folks. Like that's flat out.
And no doubt, Jimmy Butler is that man. I was high. I don't know if they ended up winning tonight. I think Julius Randle went nutso for the Knicks. I don't know if Miami ever came back. But besides tonight, they have just gotten Butler, Hero, Adebayo, Lowry, all healthy together. They still have Oladipo that's kind of missing here and there. So they're just getting to play with that full roster.
What's going on with the Knicks as well? Because like 1 year they're really good and they were in the playoffs. Last year, absolute dog shit. And this year they're back in it. Is it Julius Randle and Adam Brunson in? Like, what's going on there in New York?
It's Julius Randle and Jalen Brunson.
Yeah,
that's
it.
It's both those guys. Don't get it twisted. Julius Randle is that man.
Yeah.
He did make the All-Star team. Brunson didn't. It makes sense. One of them was probably going to get snubbed, if you will. Snub's a tough word when it's hard to pick somebody out. It's just there's more deserving guys than spaces.
Right.
It's not snubs. There's no coach's son.
There's just not enough room. There's just not enough room on these teams.
Right. It's not the coach's kid who should be on the bench that's making it over, Harden or somebody.
Right.
And so when they play together, they're great. But the problem is they don't always play defense, and they're just not consistent either. But they haven't had that much time together. Those two guys, I think they're building something there. I mean, if they could have got Donovan Mitchell to go there, because, again, we're talking three guys. I mean, the Knicks with Randall and Brunson are fun. They can beat anybody. But, again, in a long series, like, they're not going to beat those better developed teams.
And that's where the Knicks always wind up being the freaking Knicks. And I'm not even a Knicks fan, but I don't know if it's just, the New York blood in me or whatever. I want the Knicks to do well for whatever reason. Like I said, it must just be the New York blood. But how do you not – and I like RJ Barrett. He's a good player. He's a good young player. But you could have had Donovan Mitchell, man. So I'm sorry, but take RJ – take everybody you want on the team. Seriously.
Well, and RJ Barrett, they're not even using him. I mean, they got him
Cam Reddish.
Right, Cam Reddish, who the Lakers need to go and get.
Yeah.
Just because he's just sitting on the bench, it's like the dude's a pure shooter. Any team that needs to stretch the floor, which the Lakers are definitely one of those teams, and he's been on their list for a long time, shouldn't cost too much. It's not like going out and getting Miles Turner and Buddy Hield. You're probably not going to have to give up both your first-round picks. I don't know if the Lakers want to do that, but somebody needs to go get that man, and they need to get rid of Barrett because the other night, fourth quarter against the Lakers, Barrett was playing well. Dude didn't even see the court, and I'm glad he didn't because they probably won.
Tom Thibodeau loves veterans, you guys.
Right, and they put themselves in a situation now. Sorry, they put themselves in a situation now where if you didn't give him up for Donovan Mitchell, you better give them up for somebody of that caliber or better, because then they're gonna get crucified. Because you had an opportunity to get a legitimate star in Donovan Mitchell to team up with Jalen Brunson and Randall, and you chose not to because you didn't want to give up on RJ Barrett. So if they trade RJ Barrett now, it's got to be for a star player. And who could they possibly get at the deadline that's a legitimate player? No, I don't think they can.
I don't know. Right. That's the thing. They could trade Barrett and Reddish and get back a haul of picks.
Right.
But you've got Randall and you just went out and signed Brunson, which was a great move. So that doesn't help you. You're just going to be mediocre.
You're in win now mode.
Yeah. If you do that, you're just a playoff team for the next 5 years, which is great for where you've been, but that's not the standard and that's not what you want to do. So who can they go get? There aren't a lot of star players available. I know Bogdanovich on the Pistons was a guy that people talked about. He's a guy that can score the ball. He does a little bit of everything. He'd be a nice complimentary piece.
In this kind of two-part question, Evan. So, number one, what the hell's wrong with my Bulls? Because last year couldn't beat any fucking good team. This year they beat all the good teams, can't beat the bad teams. They're so frustrating. This nucleus of Levine, DeRozan, and Vooch doesn't work well, and it's all locked up. Should they blow it up? And is Zach LaVine available? And so, answer that part question first, and then what moves are we going to see here at the deadline in 2 weeks?
What's the Bulls' record right now?
Shit. Let me look.
I got you. The Bulls are 23-27 in the 11th
24
spot.
and 27.
24. They won tonight.
24 and 27. So it's having this conversation when they were 11 and 18. So since then they are 13 and 9. Okay. Right. So a little bit better. 13 and 9 in the last 22 games. A little bit better than they had been. I think a couple things. They haven't had everybody really all together either. Obviously, you've got no Lonzo Ball, who was becoming a better player. Was he ever going to achieve the status of his draft pick?
Whoever would have thought that Lonzo Ball was the key? Because you're right. Like last year when he was healthy, that team was number 2, 3 in the West.
Look at Rajon Rondo on the Celtics or even on the Lakers. Right, you get a guy. Lonzo Ball is a basketball player.
Right.
He could have 2 points and greatly impact the game.
Right.
In so many ways. And he was doing that and learning how to do that and becoming the player that he could be the best version of Lonzo Ball. Not the superstar number 2 pick, just the best version of himself in the NBA to help the team he's on win games. He figured it out.
A really good point guard. Good point guard.
Yes.
And not a scorer, right? Like that's what kids don't understand these days is the point guard is the guy who really is like the quarterback and is supposed to get everybody their shots and play good defense and really is not supposed to have a lot of points. Now the game has shifted, but that old school point guard, the John Stocktons and those guys, and that's what Alonzo was kind of doing with the Bulls. The offensive starter, the offense is going to go through him by passing, but more than scoring.
And then when you do, it kind of brings you to think about Jason Kidd.
Right, exactly. Right.
He learned how to shoot the 3-ball. Let's not forget, too, Lonzo completely changed his shot and was learning how to shoot a pretty consistent 3-ball where if he's facilitating and you're falling off, he will knock down the open trade to keep the defense honest.
Yeah, Jason Kidd's a perfect example of his.
That guy could not shoot if his life depended on it, and he became a 3-point shooter.
Right.
Is Lonzo Ball's skill set as a passer and a ball handler Jason Kidd? Maybe not, but he's definitely got the foundation of Jason Kidd.
Could have been a taller version, bigger version.
Same skill set is there. When I look at him and look at the way he's learned how to shoot, I could see him turning into that player if he stays healthy. All respect to Jason Kidd, hell of a player. Lonzo's got those intangibles, and it's unfortunate to see. But yeah, you can't diminish the value of that. Stretching the floor, the defense having to guard him as opposed to being able to drop off of him and not care. So now you don't really have that, right? You don't have that as much without him in the game. And whatever reason besides that, it's like you'll get DeRozan one night, you'll get Levine one night. It's not working with all that star power. It's like they went out and paid a bunch of money to these players because they've got Levine's like $30 million.
Mm-hmm.
They get Caruso a decent contract. Caruso, I don't know. He's just not fitting in really with that Bulls team.
To me, Caruso's a great backup, but the Bulls got him as a starter. Caruso's not a good starter. He's a backup.
He's a role player. And
you can't, you're asking him.
You know where he would be really good right now? Back in LA.
I was about to say with the Lakers.
But, he played himself out of that role player contract, and somebody we saw back in the day like Trevor Ariza, and more deservedly so probably, but he was never going to be a star.
Right.
He was a great player for that system.
Right.
And of course he went and got his money, and Houston regrets it. Everybody who ever,
Another guy like that, it just popped in my Terry Rozier was like that. I mean, Terry Rozier for Boston was a lot like that.
And now every few games he goes off for Charlotte, but he's just kind of rotting away over there, right? And that's the thing is, that's why it's so hard to win, right? It's kind of like the rookie contract in the NFL as a quarterback. Like, you don't win in that window.
Right.
All of a sudden, these guys that were role players now demand money. Right. And it's like, well, shoot, we've already got all this money tied up, so we got to let Caruso go. We got to let Rozier go. And we got to try to fill that with, a Kendrick Nunn if you're the Lakers, and you hope that those pieces fit. And when they don't, you take a step back. So the Bulls should blow it up.
I think so too.
Blow it up, man. We're not going to win a championship. I think if you look at the roster, like if you're not going to win a championship, you just blow it up, right? Like the Bulls got to look at and be real. They're not going to beat these 4 teams in the East regardless. So just blow it up as it's.
That's the thing. It's like if Lonzo comes back and you start playing good basketball, and I don't know if they haven't ruled him out the whole year, but I don't know.
I think he's done, Evan. Like he's not. They said he's nowhere near coming back yet.
So they haven't really said it, but everything. There's no time.
No inclination. No, from everything I read and have heard, there's not one iota that says he's coming.
So even more reason to blow it up because if you got him back with like a 20-game window to kind of get yourself ready. And that roster's complete with him. We didn't even mention Vujovic, who's an amazing rebounder.
Yeah.
That young Pat Williams is coming on. He's a good young kid.
They could make a run. And I think if you knew you could be healthy, then maybe you're like, okay, hey, we can definitely bang with these top teams. Am I saying that the Bulls top to bottom roster can beat those teams? I think that they could.
Right.
Based on what we've seen, no, but based on the names, the history, the talent, what we think about Lonzo making that team run, give him a 20-game window to get together. Yes, but the odds of that with and then without Lonzo, very, very slim. So, like you said, you want to okay, cool. You give your fans a upset first round playoff win, but then you go losing 5, to Boston. Like, what's the point?
Right.
Yeah.
F the playoffs.
Yeah.
Let me unload $80 million.
All right. Well, we're getting close to the trade deadline. So the NBA trade deadline is the best trade deadline in all of sports because it's always exciting. Do you see some major moves? Do you see some moves that are going to shock people? Is there a chance if they are not playing as well as they, if they still are going to the Western Conference, and I'm talking about a specific team that we were just talking about with the Suns, is there any chance that the Suns keep on, dropping to where they're in the play-in or something like that? Would they trade Devin Booker?
I don't think they trade Booker. I mean, I think he's their guy. You're going to lose Paul. He's at some point, Chris Paul is going to retire from basketball, even though he plays at the same pace and same style, no matter how old he gets.
Right.
And the guy can drop you 10 assists on any given night and still get in and drop double-digit points too. And he's playing well lately, but you're only going to get so much from him. I mean, Booker and Ayton are your core guys. I mean,
Ayton, even after the whole "we really don't want you, but okay, we'll pay you and keep you."
I mean, they've got him. I mean, I don't know what you're going to get. I just don't know what value you're going to get back. And the issue now, you look at last year, like Minnesota gave up all those picks for Gobert. Teams are now, that's like the asking price, but nobody wants to give that up. The Lakers don't even want to give up 2 future first-round picks that probably won't be a damn thing.
See, he's the player. And again, I was telling Nick, I'm not really a Knicks fan, but I'm born and raised in New York. So for some reason, I want them to do well. I give up everybody in any pick I have to give up to team up to get Booker and put him with Brunson and with Julius Randle and see what happens.
Bobby G said, "Look for the Suns to make a move for Van Fleet. Is Freddie on the move, Evan?"
So same thing. You talk about a team like Chicago to blow it up. Toronto's in the same mold. They've only got like 2 players under contract after 2024, and they are underachieving. I mean, you're not going to get – there's no better time than now to trade Anunoby, Pascal. Van Fleet. They all need to go. And I think I was going to say the Suns strike me more as a team that would make a move to jump back in as opposed to blowing it up because they're so young. Right. And a lot of their underachieving is due to kind of more injury play and –
Is Freddie? Who's the big name that could be moved? Is it Russ Westbrook? Is it a guy? Is it Fred VanVleet, who's not really one of the a head guy? Are we going to see a major guy move, or is it going to be a lot of role players like a Fred VanVleet? OG Abonaway is kind of that perennial type all-star.
I think Pascal that's a pretty good player. He's still young if you can get him.
Yes,
but do you think there's somebody like a major player besides Pascal?
I think he's probably the best one. I think, when you talk about, you hear the name Cam Reddish on the radar for so long. You look at Bogdanovich on the Pistons, who's a pretty good, above average player, but he's still not a superstar. Jacob Potel on the Spurs for people that want a big man, there's only so many teams that need a big man like that. Not that you wouldn't want him on your team, but there's not a lot of names besides that. So, the Raptors have some of the biggest names. Anunoby as far as a young name that could emerge. Van Fleet, who's definitely been an above-average player. And then Siakam, who you could argue, if you want to talk about a snub, Siakam is an all-star snub this year. He's deserving of it, and he's not going to get it. But he's on a big contract for 1 more year. Toronto's going nowhere. It doesn't seem to be changing anytime soon. But what's it going to take to get him?
Right.
If you're Dallas or you're Denver or you're –
I think Zach LaVine in Dallas would be perfect, or even DeMar DeRozan or somebody like that, if they decide to blow it up, if you see those things.
I see that, but I've heard, even with Mark Cuban and we've heard with Pelinka in L.A., the draft picks – let them go, man. Let them go. You're especially Dallas. Your Luka window.
Thank you.
Your Luka window is now. It's like if you're gonna, and no one would do this, but if you're gonna act that way, Well, you might as well trade Luka for 10 picks then, if you care that much about the draft.
Right.
Because he's just going to rot away and drop 35 a night in a losing effort. I mean, the guy is single-handedly carrying that team, to a top 5 seed at times, and then they drop back down. But, Christian Wood's been inconsistent. Dinwiddie's okay, but he doesn't seem to know how to play with Luka. They get a different Tim Hardaway every night. They've got pieces that could go somewhere else that are appealing, and they've got some draft picks too. But it sounds like guys like that, like Cuban and GMs, they don't want to let go of those picks. And if you're not going to give that up, you're not getting Pascal Siakam.
Dude, it's the same thing they did with Dirk, man. They just happened to have the right chemistry in 2011 to make that one run for Dirk. But otherwise, he was just wasting away at the number 4, number 5 spot in the West every year.
I mean, the year Dallas won,
right?
The year Dallas won, Dirk had to single-handedly beat like 3 of the best teams ever in the East,
right?
I mean, or in the West and the East. Like I forget who it was. I was looking at the
Lakers. He beat like Kobe's Lakers. I think he beat Tim Duncan at that point in time.
I think he beat the Thunder.
Thunder,
team.
Beat the Thunder,
And then the Heat. I mean, you want to look at a single playoff run to win a championship.
That might be one of the greatest single playoff runs of all time.
Without studying it, it's in the top 3. I would have to just say that it has to be, and he did it pretty easily too.
I was about to say, but besides Dirk, can you name a couple of the other players that were on that team?
Jason Terry on those teams,
right? And old Jason
Terry is right. Fred VanVleet on steroids. I mean,
less steroids because Jason Terry's about a toothpick,
Right.
But
we'll get you out here on this one last question here. Who the hell's winning this MVP? Because every time I turn on something, it's somebody's name's different. It's Jokic maybe, but nobody's ever won the MVP 3 times, even including the airness Michael Jordan, or even LeBron or Kobe could have. They had years where they could have won it. Is it Giannis? Is it Jason Tatum? Or is it Luka Doncic, who I feel like to me is the MVP? Because you take away from his team, which you just alluded to, they don't have anybody else other than that kid.
It's hard to not make a case for Luka. And a lot of what it will come down to, I think, let me backtrack. Jokic has to lose the MVP. If he stays healthy and keeps playing the way he is, number 1 team in the league, triple-double numbers a night, you can't take it away from him just because he will deserve it.
I don't think they're going to give it to him 3 times.
There's always that fatigue, man. There's always that fatigue in the NBA, man.
And the Nuggets, Jason Tatum. You have Jaylen Brown. Giannis, Middleton's been out, so I could see if the Bucks end up being 1 or 2 in the East and Middleton doesn't come back, why you would do that.
Oh man!
Did he freeze? So I thought it was me for a second.
But I think Tatum, just because if Boston finishes with the number 1 record in the East, I think they'll give it to Tatum just because.
We lost you. You were talking about Giannis and them real quick.
So I was saying, Tatum has Jaylen Brown. I think that kind of takes him out of it just because you have that second player. And again, Jokic doesn't really have that,
Jamal Murray, that Nuggets team is deep. I think I like that Nuggets team to make if they got to the NBA Finals, I would not be surprised with him. No. Jamal Murray, what's Porter Jr. They got some guys on that Denver team that can ball out now.
I agree, but Dallas, you could say the same about Spencer Dinwiddie, Tim Hardaway, Christian.
Give me Jamal Murray over any one of those.
But to his point, they're inconsistent. The only consistent one is Nikola. So you know what I'm saying? The other guys,
exactly.
One night they're great, and then the next night they completely disappear. So
that's why they haven't made a Western Conference Finals run, and that's why this year they may not again. And that's going to end up being the knock on Jokic is. By himself, like you got to get at least to the championship. You don't got to win it, but to be that guy, like there's going to be that mark on Nikola that you can't carry the team all the way. But back to the MVP side of it, his numbers are so good, and he doesn't have that true Robin like a Jaylen Brown or even a Middleton when he's healthy. And I think the knock on Luka will be if Dallas doesn't do anything and they find themselves in the bottom half of the Western Conference and the Nuggets are the 1 seed, the record of the team always ends up playing a role.
To my point though is Yeah, so that shows you the huge difference in the rosters to me. Like if Jokic
You're
and
preaching to
Doncic
the
are both
choir,
good enough,
Bodkins.
huh?
You're preaching to the choir.
I mean,
But
you
that's
take
the
it's MVP, most valuable player to his team. You take Luka Doncic out of his fucking team, the Mavs are the worst team in the league.
Well, then why does Goldschmidt win the MVP when he's got Arenado? Man, he didn't win it. I mean, that's the thing. Voters don't give a shit about that.
Right.
I agree. I agree, but I also think the fatigue thing, the 3-time thing. If Jokic wins MVP 3 times, and Michael Jeffrey Jordan, the greatest basketball player of all time, who could have won it every year if he really wanted to, they didn't give it to him. Shaq, the most dominant big player in his time, he only won 1 MVP. Are you kidding me?
Nash, they gave it to Nash that year.
I mean, LeBron James as well. He could have won it 3 times if they really wanted to. I know they gave it to Derrick Rose, and that's the reason Derrick Rose got it is because he took the Bulls, and the Bulls were the 1 seed that year. But LeBron's numbers were still better. I mean, and that's just the thing. I just don't think that if they give it to Jokic, my brain will fucking blow out I'll be shocked.
I do got one more question, but go ahead, answer that. Answer that.
I was just gonna say, and see, we agree. I agree with you, and I think that it's kind of like the All-Star thing. The same reason I think like Shea Gilgeous-Alexander should have been a starter over like Steph Curry. You honor people for having an above normal year, right?
On bad teams.
But I think what hurts like Luka is when Derrick Rose did it, kind of came out of nowhere. When Nash started doing his thing, it wasn't expected. Everybody already expects this of Luka. And so maybe it goes against him of like, okay, yeah, you're doing these things, but we already know you can. And so because you can, but Jokic is still doing these things, we're actually going to do it.
Right.
I'm just playing that role. I don't.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, I get it.
Okay,
I get it.
All right. So
numbers, the guy averages a triple-double. How can and the best team in the NBA?
Dude, he's so much fun to watch. Even though it looks like he's moving in slow motion, he is so much fun to watch.
I'm a post player, you guys.
I'm old school. Yes, I love down in the box. But if the Denver Nuggets were to make a trade, like who could they bring in to possibly be as close to a Robin as possible? I know they got Murray there, and I like him, but he's inconsistent. And can he stay healthy? Who is somebody if Denver because they got plenty of pieces to trade away? Who could they possibly get that if they got him, you would be like, wow, they can win the West. They can win a title.
Buddy Hield.
Wow, that's it? Just a Buddy Hield?
I think if I'm any team that needs somebody who can stretch the floor, play defense, is smart, can get me buckets, he's on the top of my list. And I'm thinking about teams that have guys that they want to part with. And I'm thinking about guys that you don't have to trade everything for, because I don't know what you're going to have to give up to go get a DeRozan or a Levine. I think you can get the production with that team. Now, if you're talking Dallas, you got to go get a Levine or a DeRozan.
Right.
But just to Bodkin's point about those role players who do play a little better than the Dallas role players, you've still got Murray, you've still got Porter Jr.,
still got Aaron Gordon.
Still got Aaron Gordon, who you could argue Murray and Gordon could have been all-stars. So they have more pieces in place. So I think even like a Bogdanovich from Detroit or a Buddy Hield, I don't think they need the splash name. One of those two guys would be huge, and you don't have to give up as much. But if you're talking about having your pick and willing to give up what you got, you got to go get DeRozan.
And so this stat was sent to me earlier today. Shout out Kenny Miller for sending this stat. I'm gonna let you get those plugs in, but I want to get your thoughts here. Did you know the Hawks are 26-26? They're 17-17 against the East, 9-9 against the West. The Hawks are 8th of 15 East teams. The Hawks have scored 6,057 points, and they've allowed 6,057 points. Talk about the most mediocre 500 team in NBA history.
Wow. And they were expected, they went on that run. And again, they kind of overachieved, and everybody thought more. They brought in DeJounte Murray. John Collins has been in and out. John Collins is a name that's been on the trade market for the last 3 years. He's like the, Josh Hader of, the NBA being on the market. This might be the year that he goes, but that's a big body that could help some teams too. He would be a nice fit in Dallas, right? Because they don't have a lot of inside presence, but he can score. You've got
They're
the guard
a
play
scorer
there.
in Dallas, that's for sure. A lot of their bigs are, New Orleans Noel, defensive guys.
And the pick and roll with Luka would just be ridiculous, bro.
So it's just, it's what does it take to get these guys? Because, some of these guys have big contracts. What are you going to have to give up, And so from what I've heard from, more of executives is they don't want to give away 4 or 5 draft picks. And you're not going to get Levine or DeRozan or somebody like that, So why not trade a couple smaller pieces and get yourself, a Bogdanovich, get yourself a John Collins, a Buddy Hield, even, teams that need a shooter, go get Cam Reddish. Like, at least do those things, at least the bare minimum. But I think if you're Denver or Dallas, I don't care about draft picks.
Right.
Your window is small. Go all in while you can.
Right. If Levine, if the Bulls tell me Levine is available and they want 5 different draft picks from 5 different years, and a young player or 2 that doesn't play, cool.
Yes.
Like, the plane is already here. I mean, but teams are they're hesitant to do that.
So you don't see a big trade happening?
It's not that I don't see it. I just have no idea what it might be because it's so unclear on if these teams like the Bulls or the Raptors are going to blow it up. Right. But if we're talking about what they should do, I think there's going to be a handful of big ones because I think the Bulls and Raptors should blow it up. And we're talking 6, 7, 8 really good players that could go somewhere.
Right.
Really
if DeRozan, Levine, and Siakam go elsewhere, we're talking 3 all-star players being moved at the deadline. But there's a very good chance that these teams
they all stay pat. Yeah.
And they stay pat. And we see nothing really. We see a Reddish or a Bogdanovich being the big piece. But it doesn't make sense, especially in Toronto, when those guys are only signed through next year or this year. Them especially. The Bulls, you could argue, okay, keep everybody. You get Levine, you get Lonzo back, regroup next year, and just kind of call this year a wash. I could see that more than Toronto. But Toronto, you are just killing your future if you don't do it now.
Right.
All right. Hey, Evan, we appreciate you joining. Tell us, go ahead and get those plugs in.
So, man, just look for me on Twitter, SoCal Ball Nerd. I do I am at Let's Talk Sports as well. Tuesday night, been doing a show. Time kind of changes, but Tuesday night, SoCal Sports Show on the Let's Talk Sports Network. You can always find me there, probably 8 o'clock Pacific time, so 11 o'clock Eastern. But on Twitter, Monday nights, 9 o'clock Eastern, we got an NBA space. Tuesday, 12 o'clock Eastern, I got an NFL hangover space that we do at noon Eastern. And Thursdays afternoon, 7:30 Eastern, myself and at IDP Iggy, we got an NBA betting show as well. So nice. Monday night, Tuesday morning, Tuesday night on Let's Talk Sports, Thursday with the betting. And then you just hit me up on Twitter, find my stuff, shoot me a message. I love to talk all sports, all betting, all the time. So
definitely check him out, people, man. He's a good dude and he knows his shit, man.
Hey, we appreciate you joining the show, Evan. Thanks a lot, my brother. Hope the wife gets better. Johnny, go ahead, man. What you got coming out on 80,000 all your shows this week?
Well, this week I got Let's Talk Miami Dolphins tomorrow. Alex is going to join me again. He's one of the newer voices and faces of Let's Talk Sports. He's a fellow Dolphin fan, so he'll be with me tomorrow. Saturday, I have a special guest, a former Dolphins coach. I'm not going to put the name out there just yet. I'll mention it tomorrow, but that'll be Saturday afternoon. And then
Is it Jimmy Johnson?
Oh, man. If it was Jimmy Johnson, I'd be screaming out loud right now that it's Jimmy Johnson. Is it
Dave Wannstedt?
I don't even want to talk to Dave Wannstedt, man. He can pass on Drew Brees twice.
Is it Adam Gase? Is it you and Adam getting coke together? You and Adam doing cocaine together on the show?
Nah, man, that was never my drug of choice. But no, it's Mike. It's actually Mike Westhoff, former coach of the Miami Dolphins. He's looking out
and the New York Jets.
Yes, and the Jets. Yep. So yeah, he'll be with me Saturday at noon. A special episode of Let's Talk Dolphins, working around his schedule. So I was down to do it whenever, to have him on. And then I got some stuff going with Scott. Sunday at noon. Since we ain't got no game day show, I'm gonna do a couple of show with Scott. He wants to do. He wants to do something for.
Yeah, I was going to plug that. Yeah, the Tom Brady retirement show will be. I was told 10 Central, 11 Eastern.
11. Sorry, 11. Yes.
10 Central, 11 Eastern. Join us right here on the Let's Talk Sports Sunday for the Tom Brady retirement show. Right. Where Johnny's going to talk about all the good times where Tom Brady beat the Dolphins.
Yeah. Well, at least my Dolphins always found a way to beat them at least one time a year. So I had that. And then, of course, Monday night, 8 p.m., the Johnny Cruz Show with special guest. Bobby G is going to be my guest this Monday night coming up at 8 p.m. That's going to be a lot of fun. Can't wait to talk to him, man. So got a lot of stuff going on. Always a good time. And, of course, I'll be back here with you next week with, I'm sure, another good guest here. I like SoCal is a good dude, man. He knows his stuff, man. He's funny. He's a good brother.
Yeah, we appreciate Evan, SoCal Nerd, joining us again tonight. I will be back on Sunday with Johnny as well on the Tom Brady retirement show. And then at 8:30 Central, we got another guest. Going to be talking Lions, Packers, little UFC. I'm not going to lie, y'all. I forgot the guy's name.
The super producer hit you up and let you know.
Dan. Christian Stoin 3 is going to be joining me of Backyard Pigskin. So he'll be joining me, talk a little Lions, talk a little bit of that stuff. So again, we appreciate y'all again joining. So Evan, thanks a lot. SoCal Cal Nerd, check them out, please. Get some bets right. Hey, start gambling, win some money. So hey. Be a friend, tell a friend, folks. I'm going to hit that outro for me and Johnny. We're out of here. It's been a pleasure. Again, check us out this Sunday for the Tom Brady retirement show, 11 Eastern, 10 Central. So check us out then with Scott and the rest of the gang. Yep. Hitting that outro. We'll see you then, baby.
All right. Be safe.